To our World Heritage 2021 debate. 2021 debate is a year of events focused on protection, conservation, and management of World Heritage. We want to uncover untold stories to broaden our views on heritage practices and future perspectives. Knowledge gathered this year will be published in 2022 on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Convention. The Our World Heritage Initiative is created by individuals working on 100% voluntary capacity. We would like to point out that Our World Heritage provides an open dialogue platform that is based on voluntary work of session organizers and speakers. Our World Heritage welcomes diverse viewpoints in the spirit of collegial debate where mutual respect is afforded to all. Please note that the expressed views do not necessarily reflect the official position of Our World Heritage. We thank today's speakers for telling their stories, and we thank you, the listeners, for your kind interest and questions. If you want to remain up to date on our activities, you can follow our social media. We maintain channels in multiple languages to break through the language barriers and connect to local communities. You will find all links on our website, ourworldheritage.org. Thank you for being with us today, and we wish you a very fruitful event. Welcome to our World Heritage 2021 debate. 2021 debate is a year of events focused on protection, conservation, and management of World Heritage. We want to uncover untold stories to broaden our views on heritage practices and future perspectives. Knowledge gathered this year will be published in 2022 on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Convention. The Our World Heritage Initiative is created by individuals working on 100% voluntary capacity. We would like to point out that Our World Heritage provides an open dialogue platform that is based on voluntary work of session organizers and speakers. Our World Heritage welcomes diverse viewpoints in the spirit of collegial debate where mutual respect is afforded to all. Please note that the expressed views do not necessarily reflect the
in my own experience, national delegations, governments, it's like a football game. How many points can you get? How many sites can you get on the list? Once it's 1 and not 0, that's the victory. And all the nuances, all the subtleties about how communities get more sensitized, or there's a long-term process of better sustainability. These are not acknowledged in that 1 to 0 black and white system. And once you are in, you gain a one score, then all of these management and sustainability, resilience issues are suddenly, so much at the back of the priority list.
Welcome to our World Heritage 2021 debate. 2021 debate is a year of events focused on protection, conservation, and management of World Heritage. We want to uncover untold stories to broaden our views on heritage practices and future perspectives. Knowledge gathered this year will be published in 2022 on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Convention. The Our World Heritage Initiative is created by individuals working on 100% voluntary capacity. We would like to point out that Our World Heritage provides an open dialogue platform that is based on voluntary work of session organizers and speakers. Our World Heritage welcomes diverse viewpoints in the spirit of collegial debate where mutual respect is afforded to all. Please note that the expressed views do not necessarily reflect the official position of Our World Heritage. We thank today's speakers for telling their stories, and we thank you, the listeners, for your kind interest and questions. If you want to remain up to date on our activities, you can follow our social media. We maintain channels in multiple languages to break through the language barriers and connect to local communities. You will find all links on our website, ourworldheritage.org. Thank you for being with us today, and we wish you a very fruitful event. Welcome to Our World Heritage 2021 debate. 2021 debate is a year of events focused on protection, conservation, and management of World Heritage. We want to uncover untold stories to broaden our views on heritage practices and future perspectives. Knowledge gathered this year will be published in 2022 on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Convention. The Our World Heritage Initiative is created by individuals working on 100% voluntary capacity. We would like to point out that Our World Heritage provides an open dialogue platform that is based on voluntary work of session organizers and speakers. Our World Heritage welcomes diverse viewpoints in the spirit of collegial debate where mutual respect is afforded to all. Please note that the expressed views do not necessarily reflect the official position of Our World Heritage. We thank today's speakers for telling their stories, and we thank you, the listeners, for your kind interest and questions. If you want to remain up to date on our activities, you can follow our social media. We maintain channels in multiple languages to break through the language barriers and connect to local communities. You will find all links on our website, ourworldheritage.org. Thank you for being with us today, and we wish you a very fruitful event. Welcome to Our World Heritage 2021 debate. 2021 debate is a year of events focused on protection, conservation, and management of World Heritage. We want to uncover untold stories to broaden our views on heritage practices and future perspectives. Knowledge gathered this year will be published in 2022 on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Convention. The Our World Heritage Initiative is created by individuals working on 100% voluntary capacity. We would like to point out that Our World Heritage provides an open dialogue platform that is based on voluntary work of session organizers and speakers. Our World Heritage welcomes diverse viewpoints in the spirit of collegial debate where mutual respect is afforded to all. Please note that the expressed views do not necessarily reflect the official position of Our World Heritage. We thank today's speakers for telling their stories, and we thank you, the listeners, for your kind interest and questions. If you want to remain up to date on our activities, you can follow our social media. We maintain channels in multiple languages to break through the language barriers and connect to local communities. You will find all links on our website, ourworldheritage.org. Thank you for being with us today, and we wish you a very fruitful event. Welcome to our World Heritage 2021 debate. 2021
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you in this room and also in YouTube channel. It's with great pleasure that in behalf of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, I'll welcome everyone to this session, Project Exhibitions from Brazil, the second session of the New Heritage Approaches webinar, as part of the 2021 debate promoted by our World Heritage Movement. Before we start, I'd like to very much to thank very much for all the effort, institutional collaboration that made possible this second session of Brazilian projects. First of all, my special thanks to Mike Goldkopf, who takes care of us on a daily basis, Ana Paula Pola and Manny Wilson, responsible for our site and social media, Christina Cameron, who helped with the revision of the session's concept notes, José Lange and staff for the permanent technical support, and Monica Bayesh Lee, Danielle Pini, and Jonathan Scharfman, the coordinators of the New Heritage Approaches webinar sessions, including the student and youth sessions, and also the Brazilian project exhibitions from Brazil. A special and necessary word, our deepest recognition to the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro and University of São Paulo, two public Brazilian universities that always support our initiatives and help us overcome all the difficulties that this difficult pandemic period and political moment brought to us in Brazil. Now a description of the session and the panelists. The first project will be Mapping Everyday Heritage with Children and Youth, em português, Mapeando o Patrimônio Cotidiano com Crianças e Jovens. Second will be Maré Cheia de Cinema, Tide Full of Cinema, as a translation. It's important to say that we will have the presentations will be in Portuguese. And for those who want to have in English, you can look in the bottom bar of your Zoom. You have the little globe translation available, and then you can have it translated into English. So it's a pleasure to have you all understand and know these important projects that are being developed in Brazil as part of the New Heritage Approaches movement. Well, I will just call for the first one, and I will present in a brief description of the first session, and I will present the panelists. And then after they present, then you come again to me, and I will describe the second session, also the panelists for the second project, sorry. So I will just describe in Portuguese, and for those who want to have the translation, please access the little globe on the top bottom of the bar, and the right part of the bottom of the bar, you have the translation into English. Bem, a primeira sessão, Mapeando o Patrimônio Cotidiano com Crianças e Jovens. Esse projeto busca identificar o patrimônio cotidiano descrito através de desenhos sobre a jornada que as crianças fazem entre a casa e a escola. Eles foram produzidos por estudantes da rede municipal do Rio de Janeiro e é parte de um projeto maior denominado Mapeamento Afetivo, coordenado por Gisele e por mim, e produzido em parceria com os nossos grupos de pesquisas, GAI e CEL, e também com a Prefeitura da cidade do Rio de Janeiro. Esse projeto analisou textos e desenhos, né, de crianças, de jovens estudantes, de crianças e jovens, né, estudantes da rede municipal, para interpretar o desejo e as expectativas e as percepções das crianças no seu espaço cotidiano entre a casa e a escola. Eu vou passar, então, para o professor Alex Assunção Lamonia, mas antes disso, eu vou descrever os autores. Bem, participam os panelistas dessa primeira.
Professor Vera is translating herself, so she's just repeating what she just said in English.
Ele é também pesquisador de pós-doutorado com bolsa da CAPES, PNPD, do Programa de Pós-Graduação em Arquitetura, PROARC, da FAO, UFRJ. Ele é doutor em Arquitetura e Urbanismo pela UF, mestre em Geografia, Meio Ambiente e Desenvolvimento pela Universidade Estadual de Londrina. Ele é arquiteto e urbanista pela Universidade Estadual de Londrina, a UEL. Bem, a segunda panelista é Flora Oliveira de Souza Cardoso. Ela é mestre em Desenvolvimento Urbano pela Universidade Federal de Pernambuco, tem especialização em Preservação e Gestão do Patrimônio Cultural pela Fiocruz e é arquiteto e urbanista pela Escola de Arquitetura e Urbanismo da UF. Brendo Tavares dos Santos, ele é graduando em Arquitetura e Urbanismo da Escola de Arquitetura e Urbanismo da UF, e também tem diploma, né, de técnico em construções pelo Senai. Isabela Maria Bulos Maiolino, ela é graduanda também em Arquitetura e Urbanismo pela Escola de Arquitetura e Urbanismo da UF, e é um grande prazer ter a contribuição de 2 estudantes de graduação em Arquitetura e Urbanismo, juntamente, né, com uma mestre, né, especialista em patrimônio, e com o professor doutor. Eu quero, então, passar a palavra imediatamente para Alex fazer sua apresentação. Muito obrigada.
Isabela, por favor, pode compartilhar a nossa apresentação.
So I'm going to share our presentation. Good morning to you all.
Ficar com o microfone perto, tá bom? Para o áudio não ficar baixinho. Obrigada.
Bom dia para a parte do mundo onde...
Well, good morning for the part of the world that is morning, and good afternoon for that part of the world that's already afternoon, and good evening for those that are already in the evening. I am Alex Lamourier, and I am in this project together with Professor Tania, and the name of our project is called Mapping the Everyday Heritage with Children and Youth. We are composed of this beautiful team, Flora, Brendo, Isabella. Brendo and Flora are undergraduate students of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. In 2012, UNESCO listed the cultural landscape of Rio de Janeiro as a heritage site. The line between water and the site consists of a stretch that follows the water line between the city and the Guanabara Bay, including the Tijuca National Park. It is the only example of cultural landscape on the World Heritage List. This is definitely something that we should celebrate, but it also poses an obvious but significant question. What could it be that such a comprehensive vision fails to contemplate? This work presents preliminary results of the extension project Heritage Education, Mapping Everyday Heritage with Students from the Public Education System in Rio de Janeiro, developed with the School of Architecture and Urbanism of the Fluminense Federal University in partnership with PROAC of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. It aims to identify everyday heritage through the analysis of drawings on the route between home and school produced by students from public school in Rio de Janeiro. Thus, the project seeks to contribute to inclusive heritage education strategies based on the dissemination and recognition of everyday heritage that, as well as the perception of children, has been disregarded in current evaluation criteria and in the discussion about the character of the cities. Since 2020, professors Gisele Azevedo and Vera Tangari from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro have been coordinating the project Affective Mapping of Educational Territories in Rio de Janeiro, carried out in partnership with the Planning Office of the Municipality of Rio de Janeiro. In this project, students' drawings and tests were analyzed, reporting perceptions and desires about their path between home and school. In this affective and also distressing mapping of everyday life, affections, conflicts, and vulnerabilities are mixed in the continued experience of the territory. 734 municipal schools have participated in this affective mapping of educational territories, which accounts for 49% of the total of 1,500 municipal schools in Rio de Janeiro. This participation had schools units from all the 11 regional education coordination units in the city. We analyzed information about the city reported in the drawings of children's and also in their texts. It was not our goal to analyze psychological aspects in lines and colors, for example. Our goal is to identify their analysis of the city. In this project, Mapping the Everyday Heritage, we primarily selected 13 municipal schools located in the territories that we considered strategic because of their specific character and because they consist of peripheral areas with a considerable degree of vulnerability. The schools are then located in the central area, downtown area, and the immediate outskirts of downtown Rio. Morro do Pinto, in the neighborhood of Santo Cristo, Catumbi, Barreira do Vasco, in Benfica, and Ilha do Paquetá. They feature slums and an island. In the North Zone, the Complexo do Alemão, Jacarezinho, and Manguinho favelas, communities which are extremely violent territories. And in the west area, the neighborhood of Santa Cruz, one of the most peripheral locations in Rio de Janeiro, far from the downtown area, the farthest. The age range of the children involved were from 8 to 13 years old. We observed that students' drawing had the potential to discover other assets, tangible and intangible, based on the perceptions of children from different regions of Rio. Other heritage that went beyond the widely known postcards of the marvelous city. This gave us the provocative hypothesis that there is more symbolism and affection between the sea and the mountain in Rio de Janeiro than the current heritage criteria allows us to see. The age range of the guide to guide the beginning of the investigation, we have used basic data from tables filed in 2020 during the analysis of the affective mapping of educational territories. We identified preliminary categories aimed at investigating everyday heritage. The categories were tangible heritage, open spaces, buildings, water, vegetation, significant views, intangible assets, uses, practices, and values, sensory elements, events, toponymy. We also included what we call afflictive mapping to contemplate the problems and afflictions reported by the students, and a column of highlights to match the document that we consider the most significant as example. This categorization was used as a preliminary guide, but it's neither rigid nor restrictive to our investigation. We can pick up and redefine it in future steps if it proves to be necessary and interesting. Now we start with the central area schools, and in the immediate neighboring communities, including the North Zone and the Paquetá Islands. The drawing of these schools together synthesize desires and perceptions of the entire city as children from different regions of Rio de Janeiro are shown here. The first school is the General Milton Municipal School, located in the Morro do Pinto mountain in the neighborhood of Santo Cristo, a port area on the outskirts of downtown Rio. The children's drawings from Morro Pinto show aspects of the morphological configuration. The hill, houses on the slope, accessed by stairs and wide avenues. The central railway station in Brazil appears in all the examples shown here as a major visual landmark in the landscape. There are also affective landmarks such as the school and the homes of children's friends, such as the home of Mateus, for example. Trees and soccer fields represent open green spaces for leisure. It is interesting to know that many drawings, all of the three, exception made to the first one, draw the Christ, the Redeemer, on Corcovado and the Sugarloaf Mountain. Although seen from a distance, these large postcards of the Cidade Maravilhosa are also part of the scenes of the daily journeys of these children. But how many of them have already managed to really visit the Christ, to take a ride on one of the Sugarloaf's electric cable cars? Next is the Catumbi Municipal School, located at the foot of the hill, located in the Catumbi neighborhood, on the outskirts of downtown Rio, an area involved in violence, inequality, social environmental issues, and vulnerability. The first drawing selected in Escola Catumbi is a good synthesis of the affections and afflictions of the children there. In terms of morphological configuration and place of identity, the density of small buildings appears, in contrast with some large vertical buildings, streets, and alleys, flowers in the windows of house. It's dangerous, but it is my place. And the appropriation of open spaces, represented by children playing soccer in an empty lot at the end of the street. The same drawing shows the same fear and vulnerability. The student report his desires, saying, no more burglars in front of our house, no more violence, no more rapists. In the text, there is the drawing of children being dragged by armed them while shouting, help. The drawing in the bottom show garbage being burnt, and then also a desire for an area full of greenery. The drawing on the bottom right showed the use of rainwater, which is necessary where there is a lack of supply, and also an overflight of an helicopter, which, considered the context of Rio de Janeiro, leads us to think, would it be a police operation? Now we are in the Edmundo Bittencourt Municipal School, located in a territory characterized by intense social and environmental vulnerabilities. Barreira do Vasco in Benfica neighborhood in the north zone of Rio de Janeiro. The children writes, I'd like running water and electricity. I'd like pipe gas and trees. Phrases such as, I wish I had a tree. It's not possible to live without a tree. How could I live without a tree? Are common in these accounts. The drawings to the right at the top also show the desire of basic services, basic utilities in the home, and showing children being electrocuted by kite beads that tangle in the wires, point to the lack of places where they can play safely. The drawing below very well synthesizes these claims. Asphalt floor. I don't want to ditch trees. A watch of the light, the electric utility company, piped gas, and sidewalks. Joaquim Manuel de Macedo Municipal Sul is located in the island of Paquetá, which is an island that has its place in the history of the early years of Rio de Janeiro as the capital of the Portuguese Empire, and which is also associated with the imaginary imbued with bucolism, especially widespread in the literature of Romanticism in Brazil in the 19th century. A Moreninha, this novel, takes place, very famous novel in Brazil, takes place in Paquetá. The bucolic landscapes in the drawings of the children from Paquetá contrast with the perceptions of the schools in downtown Rio de Janeiro. There's a rich local cultural heritage represented by the stalls in one of the island's traditional festivals, possibly the São Roque Feast, as well as we see strong symbolism of water in the presence of the Guanabara Bay. The ensemble on the top left, the ensemble on the square, we see the chapel, the bandstand, and the well with its historic reputation for miraculous water, a part of historical and cultural heritage that deserved greater attention. Uh, the cart pulled by a bicycle, no longer by horses, heading to an ice cream parlor, shaded by a tree laden with fruit, seems the portrait of a peaceful and rich lives in terms of free enjoyment of the place. Thank you very much. Now my colleague Isabella Maiolino will continue the presentation. Welcome, Isabella.
Bom dia a todos e todas, né? Agora vou apresentar um pouco da terceira coordenadoria. Esse recorte espacial, apesar de estar localizado relativamente próximo ao centro da cidade, ele se vê afastado.
Now, hello, good afternoon. I'll be presenting the results of the study to the third coordinator. The special contact complains some of the huge favelas in Rio de Janeiro, which receives no attention because they are far away from the city tourist zone. This is where some of the largest favelas in Rio de Janeiro are located, and where the two schools which will be presented are located. It's about the Professor Mourão Filho Municipal School in the Complexo do Alemão community and the João Sexto Municipal School located in the Higienópolis neighborhood between the Complexo do Alemão and the Jacarezinho community favela. Outside the city tourist zone, such favelas do not receive investments or improvement from the government, being controlled in most areas by drug trafficking and parallel government.
Chama atenção o modelo de repetição como padrão, criado pela implantação de conjuntos.
Initially, analyzing the architecture typology of the area, the repetition model as a standard created by the implementation of housing projects over the years of public policies for the relocation of families in peripheral area draws attention. The constructions are carried out with precast and standardized aesthetics and finishes, so the cost is as low as possible. Thus, the landscape in a pattern of repetition was created on the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro. The small maps show some of the housing projects that are seen in the Complexo do Alemão. The children's greatest dissatisfaction perceived through the drawing was the inadequate treatment of the environment in the areas where they live. As a matter of public health, the right to the environment is denied to residents of Rio's favelas without garbage collection, sanitation, and everyday water supply. Thus, the inhabitants develop a kind of idealization of the water courses present there, the Faria Timbó River and the Guanabara Bay as possible places for leisure and activities such as laundry and fishing. On the small map, we can see the proximity of Faria Timbó stream to the two schools analyzed. The quest for trees is also one of the requests related to the environmental comfort of their journey from this home to school. As can be seen on the map, the high density of the areas under study makes it difficult to implement wider roads and large trees so that they can then cast shade along the way, and in some cases even bear fruit. Cleanliness is also one of the greatest desires of the children, as can be seen in the graphic representation. In contrast to the desire for clean spaces, some children draw distressing situations, revealing the danger experienced in their daily lives with the presence of armed conflicts and tragedies. in places controlled by parallel organization and forgotten by the government.
Breno Tavares, e eu irei compartilhar com vocês.
Good morning, my name is Brendo Tavares. I will share with you the analytical results of the drawings received from the municipal schools of Manguinhos, specifically from the schools Albino Souza Cruz and Negrão de Lima, located in the south region of Rio de Janeiro, member of the 4th coordination area. Manguinhos is a horizontalized favela and has a very assiduous community spirit, but it has strong lack of public safety and maintenance of public services, directly influencing the children's view of local heritage and their right to them. This lack is justified by the presence of individuals who promote illegal acts, transforming Manguinhos in a scenario of constant war between police and criminals, being at the center of attacks in the city of police, highlighted in yellow, and by the local traffic. And in the drawings at the side, we can observe the police city tower, an old cigarette factory remitted to a daily practice of violent and constant surveillance of local citizens. With a distressing mapping, we also see the oppression by bandits and the presence of garbage in public spaces represented. In this nuance, the existence of these elements and typical elements of Carioca slums are representing or overlapping houses and external staircase. In this context, we can highlight the practice of sports and recreation, animals grazing, and even recovery in the imagination of the body of water that used to be there. The drawing, on the other hand, shows us the recognition of the bridge as heritage. With this representation of a person with what it looks like a self-picture, but it's also a distressing mapping where garbage is a real problem in the neighborhood life. Soccer field represented by other schools in the region, a region that does not have public leisure facilities. So they are nothing more than empty lawns, and they are a real heritage for the children. Another constant space in the drawing, The notion of heritage only makes sense when its significance is perceived by individuals of a social group, in our research, the children. Synthesizing this effective and distressing mapping, what the children's eyes shows us. The children reveal also a forgotten heritage, which were valued in the past, such as the Praça de São Roque complex. Sorry, the sound is not so good. So environmental value and appreciation of open spaces, trees, collection of spaces, neighboring practices and values linked to an open and wide. The neighborhood centrality, dimensions of streets and alleys, and the practice of taking care of their own integrity. Violence and the lack of basic services, and they generate the need of struggle and resistance. For example, you can see to the right, there is a design by Oscar Niemeyer. This was designed by Niemeyer at the same time of the construction of Brasilia, but it's forgotten by the public heritage today. And it highlights, it's a key point today of the traffic commerce. The material collected is very rich and especially encompasses the children. So through simple drawings, they show their daily heritage, what's important for them. Now Flora is going to continue analyzing the last region. Thank you, Breno. I'm going to speak about Santa Cruz, which is an opposite to what was introduced before. It's a distant neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro, located in the East Zone. And as you can see in the map, it's distant from the Southern Zone and from the downtown area. It's a very large area. The neighborhood has rural areas, as you can see in this picture below, which there are rural and urban activities mixed. As a result, there is a precarity of infrastructure and public services and people in vulnerability. Nonetheless, this reality can offer quality in the sense of open spaces to play and a lot of contact with nature.
Do bairro, no quais podemos identificar características.
5 schools were approached, were analyzed, those that you see to the right. The drawings show the difficulties in connection between the schools and the children, so they always represent the transportation. And we can also observe their concern with the environment, such as to the left, the drawing is written clean rivers. Well, I'd like to highlight this school, the Ricardo Tivita School. It's close to the Jesuitas Bridge, which is a heritage monument. In the school, you have to go through this bridge, which is an acknowledged historical value, heritage. It has artistic value and also age value, and it represents the colonial architecture of Brazil. Many representations of this bridge have been seen in the drawings.
Exemplos que mostram a ruralidade do bairro.
And also, some drawings show the rurality of the neighborhood. It's some also imaginary that no longer exists in some cases. Here we can see the representation of a person that seems to take pictures of the bridge. As you see here in the drawing to the right, and to the left we see garbage, which is often seen in the drawings, showing a lack of public utility services. So in many schools we see the Jesuitic bridge, but others don't, of course. Here you see a square and a candy store, and shows here activities such as reading, and you see the sound box, which is very common together with the inhabitants of Rio de Janeiro, the public spaces. So the square is seen as a public space, a place for leisure. Also very common, we see the soccer field. It's a hybrid space for different uses. You can play soccer, you have cattle there, also children playing with its kite, expressing the rural aspect of Santa Cruz West Zone. The soccer lawn is seen in series of drawings because it's a space, it's a lawn, they are an open space that is really a true heritage for the children. It's a reference in their daily lives. And and it's really part of our heritage, and it's important for us. The notion of heritage only makes sense if its significance is realized, it's acknowledged by people and groups. And in our research, the groups are made by the children. Summarizing, we have this affective and afflictive expression of the children. They show acknowledge heritage, such as we've seen in the first zone, that are the Rio de Janeiro postcards, such as the Christ the Redeemer and the Sugarloaf, and benchmarks of the landscapes, such as the Central do Brasil railway station. There are also the religious and festivals, such as the São Roque Church, and the symbolism of the water, both the Guanabara Bay and the several urban rivers that were drawn in the drawings. Children also mention forgotten landscape heritage, such as the Jesuitic Bridge and the Paquetá Island Church. So the children recover this heritage, cultural heritage, and showed that in their drawings, as well as the Oscar Niemeyer building, forgotten by our Agency of Heritage. We see that the school is a reference for their lives, in the same way as the open spaces to play. Many times, the only possible activities in the favelas are the soccer lawns. We see the rural character in the area of Santa Cruz, and this rurality also appears in the favelas, despite the densities that are seen into the figures to the left, as an identity element for the children. Also, terrible schools appear in some drawings of daily violence, lack of support, abandonment, and also gun fights. As a fictive situations to the right, here are situations that they did not want to take place, but that are part of the daily lives of children in Rio de Janeiro. In the pathway from home to school, we observing the drawings of all the regions, we can see that local heritage overtakes the international heritage. This mixture of affection and affliction show the need for us to offer these children the full access to the city. Finally, we think of the traditional way of how is perceived or how an idea of Rio de Janeiro has been built. This postcard shows the synthesis of this marvelous city, but what are the other postcards that are possible? In contrast with the heritage identified worldwide, there are the heritage identified by the children. They show that, in fact, there are other possible postcards, other conceptions and images of this city. And therefore, based on the look of the children and the youth, as you can see in the result here shown, we can then subsidize actions to list for the heritage education of the citizenship in the city of Rio de Janeiro. Thank you for your attention, and I believe that Ronaldo also wants to speak a bit. Thank you all, Ronaldo, Brito, Isabella, Alex. We want to thank the group Systems of Free Spaces, the group of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, for the contributions to this project, especially Professor Vera Tangiri, Professor Gisele Azevedo, that had idealized the previous project of affective mapping with this rich material that can unfold in a series of research. I want to thank the Faculty of Architecture and Urbanism of the Fluminense Federal School. I want also to thank the presence of you here that have spoken, the partnership with the municipality of Rio de Janeiro that make this project feasible, to CAPES and to the Program of Architecture and Urbanism of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro that had supported this initiative together with World Heritage, supported this research to be conducted. And thank you for all you that are participating.
Brendo, Isabela e Flora pelo trabalho,
Thank you, Alex, Breno, Flora, Isabella, for your works. Solange also for the presentation. It's good to see the result and the possible unfolding of this work of effective research, and how this work can help us understand better the urban environment and also face the needs in infrastructure, and at the same time value what is important in the daily life of the dwellers, be them children, youth, as we have seen in the drawings, and all of us, all the adults as well. Now I'm going to move to the second presentation. I'm going to speak about this next session.
Bem, a segunda projeto a ser apresentado chama-se Maré Cheia de Cinema.
The second project is called Tide of Cinema. I'm going to describe a little bit this work. It's a work that concerns the Caiçara culture. The Caiçara, that is the community that lives by the river, their life, culture, and resistance and life experience produced for a project called White Tide of Cinema that occurs in the area of Ponta Negra in Paraty, municipality of Rio de Janeiro. This festival is organized by the collective João do Rio since 2010, and it has stopped last year due to the pandemic. It had had an interruption. The goal is to introduce, by means of these small short movies, and in different styles, also long movies, fiction, documentaries, animations. All of them are free or in open spaces, directly in the beach of Ponta Negra. It's going to the workshop. It's a workshop of production of this material, and it takes place in the traditional area of Caiçara occupation. It's interesting to see the production of the material and also how this culture is inserted in the area. So let me speak a bit about the authors, and then they are going to talk more about the project. So we are going to hear from Domitila Almenteiro. She's an architect. She also has she's an intern at the University of Bologna. She was undergraduated in the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, and currently she's doing her master degree at the ProArch at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. She's the founding partner of MUTA and co-founder of the Urban Studies Home. She's the producer of the Maré Cheia de Cinema Festival and the Cine Mureta. So also we have here Pablo de las Cuevas, founding partner of MUTA, co-founder of Casa de Estudos Urban Studies, together with Domitila, and producer of the Maré Cheia de Cinema Festival and the Cine Mureta, together with Domitila. Ronald Armenteiro, also a producer, a co-founder of the collective João do Rio Cultural Production. He's a creator, producer, curator, and curator of the Maré Cheia de Cinema Film Festival. So now I'm going to give the floor for them to talk about their project. Good morning, can you hear me? So I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to do a brief presentation. We're going to have 2 moments. I'll offer half of the presentation, then we will see 3 short movies, and then I'm going to do the other half of the presentation, then show again 2 short movies, and then at the end of this presentation, Pablo and Ronald are going to be together with me, answering questions and speaking a bit.
Vocês estão vendo? Está em tela cheia?
Is it in full screen?
Vou começar com uma citação que ela aparece num dos vídeos que a gente tem, né? Que é: chamamos de cinema ao ar livre, outros chamam de cinema no paraíso.
Some call it open air cinema, others call it the cine paradise. This is held annually. This open air cinema is held annually at Ponta Negra Beach in Paraty by the collective João do Rio since 2010. The collective is formed by artists, producers, and cultural agitators from the city of Rio de Janeiro and carries out projects in the field of cinema, art, and education. Its main feature is free exhibition of Brazilian films in several formats and genres, such as feature and short fiction, documentaries, and animation. The cinema is set up in a temporary structure on the beach's sand. During 4 days, 4 feature films and around 20 short films are shown. Mostra was the very first contact of most of the community with film. Many people at that time didn't have access to televisions, and even they didn't have pictures of the community. So the first movies that we showed the region and part of the Caiçara culture, those that lives by fishery and by the ocean, they've seen themselves on the screen. Like in this picture that you can see, it's very representative. This old man, he's from the Caiçara community, he's watching, and in many times, many relatives that he's seen in the screen, that he has been, they're no longer here with us, or some of them, they had been many years without meeting. Mostra held 35 cinema sessions, exhibited 240 films, 50 of which were short films, creating during the film festival itself. And we reached an estimated audience of 6,500 people. It is estimated that in each edition, 400 tourists stays in the community, generating about 250,000 reais in income for the residents. Currently, this event is the biggest income generation in the place. The project also includes the conduction of workshops. We have the AME workshop from Art, Movement, and Ecology, where we focus on playing with children and with themes of the environment. We also held workshops in which we bring children closer to the audiovisual universe. They participate from the first stages of writing the script, filming, interpreting, editing. On the last day of the show, the video is shown to the public, transforming the community into the main protagonist in the big screen. We also organize a Caiçara canoe race. In this way, we reflect on valuing the local culture. The use of canoes has been replaced by motor ships. In 2010, there were only 5 traditional canoes and 10 speedboats, and today we have only 2 canoes and more than 40 speedboats, generating a big problem on the beach. Now I'm going to show the short movies.
Obrigado, Maré Cheia de Cinema.
Muito obrigada.
Valeu, Maré Cheia. Valeu, adorei. Obrigado, Maré Cheia de Cinema. Valeu. Obrigada, Maré Cheia. Volte sempre.
They're saying thank you, Maré Cheia. Come back, please come back. Now it's the canoe race. It's going to be shown.
Foi tudo bem?
Sim,
Was
Domitila.
it good? Yes. Thank you very much for showing us. They're really nice. I wonder if Pablo and Ronald also want to speak a little bit about this production with us.
Tá bom, tá. Quando você quiser. Você comanda aí, Domitila.
Vocês querem falar alguma coisa, Pablo e Ronald?
Alô, bom dia, boa tarde,
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. First of all, I want to thank the invitation done by Domitila. I'm very grateful to be able to participate in this and to talk about the Maré Cheia. Maré Cheia is it offers a lot of generosity, exchange, also valuing our Brazilian culture. It's something produced by Brazilians in several levels. So it has a very important exchange for those that have this experience in the Maré Cheia Festival during 4 days, because everybody is relating to one another. Everybody is taking care of the place and taking care of oneself and of one another. So there is this engagement with the people that lives here. During the time that we started, there was no electricity here. So we started doing the project with a generator. And in 2018, we started having electricity here. So we started. So it's a great project. The workshops of the children and youth of the place, the aspect of the environmental conservation, with the movies, despite the format, we also we try to show movies that speak about environment, about the water, the river, and the village. So the exchange is really, really powerful. And so I want to thank the community. This is a project of love and adventure that started in 2010, and it's all about love. We found the community Ponta Negra that houses the festival. Sometimes we had a sponsor. The other time, we conducted festivals for raising money and to be able to continue the project every year. But we found we having the opening of the community for us, offering places to stay. Also, the boats of Ponta Negra that offers transportation for us. And so the Caiçara population really welcomes us. So what is nice about this project is absolutely, when I saw the short movies shown, I felt very moved because it's been already 2 years we cannot do the festival because of the pandemic. We promoted 9 editions in Paraty and 1 edition in the Paquetá Island. And this year we have conducted a virtual edition. The Aldir Blanc Bill of Law allows us to conduct this virtual festival. So once again, I want to thank you all, and when you have opportunity, I hope to see you all there. Bye, see you. Thank you, Ronald. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'd like to thank the invitation and say that despite having been part of the project already 10 years, It's a very complicated event because we have to bring in all the equipment, but to see these children having a film vocabulary, knowing what's a short movie, how it's produced, what's an animation, how to produce. So I think that I've watched this movie 120 times, and to be moved by them again, it's so good. Thank you.
Vou fazer então a segunda metade da apresentação, aí vou ter que interromper o compartilhamento para passar os últimos 2 vídeos. Tá?
Now I'm going to share the second part of my presentation with you. And then later I'll show 2 short movies.
Nome, tem uma barra, só para avisar, tem 2 barras assim na parte de baixo da apresentação, que às vezes ocultam, não sei se você consegue tirá-las. Tá?
Yeah, you have it in full screen.
Uma barra cinza grande em cima e uma barra cinza pequenininha na parte de... Isso, essa que você está mexendo. Eu não sei se você consegue tirar ela do vídeo, né, deixar ela invisível. Tá?
Acho que não. Estranho. O que está aparecendo aqui para mim é só a própria barrinha do Zoom.
Joga ela bem para baixo, Domitila, por favor.
Joga para baixo.
Bem embaixo. Fora da...
Isso.
Mas aí quando eu boto tela cheia, ela volta a aparecer.
Não tem problema. Vamos em frente. Então, coloca a tela cheia. Se ela ficar bem embaixo, ela não atrapalha.
Vou jogar ela
que às
pra
vezes...
cá. Vou ter que manobrar ela um pouquinho. Mas acho que só nesse slide, nos outros dá para jogar para cima. Vou botar aqui para cima. Espera aí. Ai, mundo virtual. Acho que aqui vai atrapalhar menos, que não tem imagem nem texto, né?
Isso, tá ótimo. Pronto.
Tá, então nessa primeira parte eu falei um pouquinho sobre o maré, e aí eu acho que esses vídeos...
So I've talked about the Maré Cheia High Tide Festival, and these videos we selected was a kind of a portrait of what takes place there. So the first video show a general review, and then the second video was just the workshop, and the third video was the canoe race. So now let me speak about the community of Ponta Negra. Ponta Negra is in the Joatinga Federal Reserve. It's a integral conservation unit. It's located in the state of Rio de Janeiro, almost in the border of São Paulo. The Ponta Negra beach has about 100 meters, and all the constructions are in the slope. It has about 170 inhabitants.
Peraí. Desculpa, essa fala era aqui. 170 habitantes. Aí eu já falei essa parte, né? Está localizada no estado do Rio de Janeiro.
So the municipality of Paraty is in the state of Rio de Janeiro, close to the border of the São Paulo state, in a region known as Green Coast. It's one of the most abundant regions of the country. Access to the community of Ponta Negra is made by boat, through Laranjeiras Condominium, or through a trail walk of 3 hours. Electricity arrived, only installed in 2017. The region has one of the largest protected area of Atlantic forest or rainforest, and several areas of protection in the municipal, state, and federal spheres. Ponta Negra is part of the conservation area of Caiuçu, which aims to carry out scientific research for knowledge of ecosystem, traditional knowledges, and social relationships. I'd like to highlight the relation between the ocean and the mountains, Sierra and the sea relationship, and the proximity of the municipality of Paraty, which stand out the first mixed cultural and natural heritage of Latin America. Few people that live there know Rio de Janeiro or São Paulo. The big city is Paraty for them. Some of them known, but they known from the ocean side. They don't come into the big cities like Rio de Janeiro or Santos in São Paulo. The Caiçara are a mixture of original indigenous people, European colonizers, and Black, mostly those that came from the Quilombos. I selected these images to show that the Caiçara population has this mixture of, sometimes they have dark skin, sometimes they have light skin, the eyes can be green, can be dark. So in their faces, we can see the mixture that Brazil is composed of. They live in isolated areas between the sea and the mountains, from Rio de Janeiro to the south of Brazil, in the state of Paraná. Since they live mostly isolated, they have preserved most parts of their ancestral culture, such as the agriculture, fishing, culture, celebrations, and their own music and dancing, as well as the constructions, traditional constructions done with sort of adobe. The Caiçara culture is mainly for subsistence. They live in small villages and practice artisanal fishing. The houses are closer to the ocean, and in the top of the mountain they have their agriculture. They have extractivism of palm tree fruit. They have their craftsmanship, which is the some of craftsmanship with hopes, and recently they have started working with ecotourism as well. The traditions are passed down orally from generation to generation. In these two pictures, you can see the race canoe, Caiçara race canoe during the film festival, and the other image, you see it's a scene of down below. You see a film from 1979 that is Vento Contra. This canoe is the greatest symbol of the Caiçara culture. It's a sculpted in only one sole tree. And this tree, you can find the tree in the top of the mountain. So the whole community is engaged in the production of one canoe. They climb to the top of the mountain. They select the best tree. They cut the tree. They do the first carving. And then they bring this canoe to the sand where they conclude it. There are scenes of this whole process in some movies that they exhibit during the festival. There is a need of about 50 people to bring this canoe to the sand area. There is the retrieve of the wood. Now they have diminished a lot the production because of the shipboats that are being bought. With the construction of the Rio Santos road, the mass tourism and the real estate business have increased, and in this way, processes, other types of processes, the progress has arrived. The Laranjeiras condominium is a high-rise houses, luxury houses, overt surveillance and armed security. You see that how they have deforested all this area of rainforest to build these large houses. The access to the community is made to appear inside the community, restricted and controlled. You have to stop at the bus stop, or if you come by car, you have to inform to which beach you want to go. You have to show your ID, and you have to wait the arrival of a van from the condominium itself, the gated condominium, and you pass through the condominium. You cannot take pictures. You cannot open the windows of the van, and you are left in the pier, and there you were taken to the beaches. These instructions also, the inhabitants of the condominium also receive the same instructions. They cannot go through the condominium by walking. I'm showing the images of the same movie from 1979, showing that the struggle and the resistance of this Caiçara population spans decades. Since the beginning of the implementation of this gated condominium. The communities have been suffered a lot to this pressure and the control ways, and the illegal purchase of land had expelled many people from the Caiçara communities from this area. And then the first favela of Paraty was built during this time. Implementations of preservation area resulted also in the control of fishing and restriction on land cultivation, bringing difficulties to the Caiçara way of life. This brought about a lot of difficulties in their lives. These pictures were taken by a reforestation that was conducted in a hillside that had been burned. It was done together, the Caiçara community, together with INEA, that offered the seeds, and so then this reforestation was possible, the seedlings as well. And with that, low steam, the marginalized approach to these communities, the mixture of Black and Indians, and the struggle for land incurred this low self-esteem feeling the Caiçaras, and by distancing themselves from the celebrations. And today, most of the women don't even know how to swim. Electricity and the intense contact with tourists also are a challenge, because in some ways they are needed for the life of the Caiçara, but also provoke challenges for the preservation of their traditions and techniques that end up by being lost with the implementation of technologies. The workshops that we promoted we try to bring about some of the local history. Our goal of the workshops is to strengthen the importance between generations by means of this orality, which is already a Caiçara tradition. Now we're going to show one video from the AME workshop, in which the children choose a traditional story to tell. They have done themselves the script. They had recorded testimonies to show how the same history can have different versions. And to conclude, this is my last slide. I wanted to highlight the natural landscape and reinforcing the idea that the maintenance of the traditional population is a pathway for the conservation of the heritage. And it can be also an instrument and heritage can be an instrument to implement citizenship and sustainable development for the region. So, yes, we have so now I'm going to conclude, and because we have a time frame for the session.
Vou passar só o último vídeo, que é um vídeo que é um
I'm
resultado.
going to show the last video, which is the result of the workshop, which is about the legend of the serpent Cantagalo that the children chosen to represent. It's a very short video.
Cantagalo, desde o mato, no cabrenome, cantou que nem galo, põe o ovo dela perto do ovo da galinha.
Cocoricó! Que barulho é esse? Por vida de empreguete, só pego as 7. Fim de semana, salto alto, ver o que vai dar. Um dia compra apartamento, vira o seu salário. O que é isso? Será que é? A cobra Cantagalo!
A Cantagalo ouvi dizer que ela é curtinha e redondinha ela. Vamos supor que ela é quase que nem um pedaço de pau, assim, um negócio. Só que ela tem crista, né?
Cobra comprida, grossa, uma crista na cabeça, que nem galo. O galo tem uma crista na cabeça? É que nem galo.
Não, galinha é pena. E ela tem cabelo.
Tipo, ela tinha cheio de cabelo, gente, mas era grande. Tinha uma crista Cantagalo que nem essa daqui. Aí eles falaram que era muito venenosa, ninguém podia chegar perto, que ela voava em cima, cantava fininho.
Ela é uma cobra grande, ela é grossa, tem uma cabeça igual do galo mesmo, e ela tem um negócio na cabeça e quando ela canta, o negócio sobe.
Eu mesmo uma vez presenciei aqui nas Gaetas, junto com o Luciano, um som muito estranho e um cheiro muito forte, né? Parecia cheiro de cação. Né? Eu falei assim, chamei ele do lado de fora, disse, Luciano, que cheiro é esse? Ele falou assim, espera lá, eu acho que isso é a cobra Cantagalo. Aí aquele barulho que parecia assim, um barulho forte que caía no meio da mata e saía rolando, né?
Ela não anda nem as outras não. Eu vi dizendo que ela anda nos tombos. Tem uma cobra perigosa, brava pra caramba.
Se você visse, o que você faria?
Eu botava pra gritar, né? Correr, né? Começava a gritar, pedindo socorro, alguma coisa.
Tem medo, né?
Eu tinha medo, bastante.
Dentro, fora, pisa, arrasta, cai fora. Você tem que... Dentro, fora, pisa, arrasta, cai fora. Dentro, fora, pisa...
Também não. Nem vi, nem quero ver.
Mas de ver ela nunca vi, não. Mas a turma do povo já viram.
Mas vários lugares lá no Cariçu também, o cara também viu lá no Cariçu também.
Mas aqui não tem.
Onde tem?
Aqui não tem. Onde deve ter pro lado do povo. Pro lado do povo tem.
Eu já vi duas cobras dessas.
E como é que foi?
Porque eu vi ela sair correndo. Saíram correndo atrás de mim, queriam me pegar, matar eu.
Eu tava na hora, não tava?
Correndo. Tava.
Eu pulei pra cima dela, deu uma rabada e fui lá dentro do rio.
É hoje que eu pego a cobra Cantagalo, é hoje que eu vou matar ela, é hoje!
Acho que aqui foi. Só queria finalizar, né, concluir, depois abrir para o Ronald, para o Pablo, se eles quiserem falar
So
alguma
I
coisa.
just want to conclude, and then I know that we don't have a lot of time left, but Ronald already said that it's a project based on affection and exchange and resistance. The Caiçara, so the Caiçaras are resistance. The project Maré Cheia means resistance. So it's a lot of effort, and we became a great group, a great community. It's been already 10 years. I had 20 years myself when I first started participating. There are children that were 5 years old and now they are teenagers. Some were children and now they have children themselves, and their children participate in the workshop. So it's a very strong bonding. Unfortunately, we have been these 2 years without going there, but we became a great family. Honod, I don't know if you know, he's my father, and our collective is based on these relationships of bonding and affection. So we in our almost in our time to conclude, and there's no questions from the audience, but we have comments, and we want to move to these comments soon. So this project has its strength in this relation with the community, and as this bonding gets stronger, the workshops and these videos that they create, these videos are produced during the festival, and so these ties are developed. And so we produce these videos on Friday, and then on Sunday we are exhibiting them. And so we produce so many videos, and we cannot, and so this allows for a great proximity with the children, with the community. And Domitila mentioned that they don't have memories from other times because the community was isolated for a long time. We arrived in 2010, and since then we kept going every year, and they absorb a lot of what's taking place. Domitila is one of the leaderships in the conduction of the workshops, and since that we've been already 9 editions producing these videos, it's been sometimes they don't offer novelties for them, but at the same time, when we show them an image from 2010 of their grandfathers, they are moved by that. And we, before the beginning of the session, we play some music, we exhibit pictures, just to offer these feelings to the community. And sometimes people cry because some of them are already passed, and the children dominate the process. They already have the language of the cinema, and until 2010, only 2 televisions were in the community, and today they dominate the whole language of film. They know what's taking place. They wait for us to arrive, and so therefore this crossing with other people, it's important. One of the movies that we exhibited, the National Observatory, during one exhibit, the National Observatory brought telescopes and teach them a bit about the planets and the stars, and this was great. They only have one classroom in the community that teaches from 1 to 5th grade of elementary school. So if they want to continue to study, they must go to Paraty, to move to Paraty. But what takes place is that they end up by giving up studies, and they go towards the fishery already at the age of 15. And so so therefore our connection to the community is really very strong. So I want to pose the question from Monica that in the comments, and she asking if it takes place every year during the same period. Yes, yes, it takes place during the Eastern celebration. So there is always a full moon when we are there, and like I said, we've been 2 years, there's been already 2 years that we can't go. But I hope that with this late vaccination campaign, we hope to be able to go back to our works.
Eu tenho que fazer o fechamento ainda.
So, yes, now I have to conclude and give the floor to everyone to speak. I just want to say a little thing that the first time that we have set the screen, it was a great surprise to the community, this big screen. And so it was a big surprise. It was the first time. And then the second year, the first time that they see themselves in the screen, and it was a great surprise. And then in the fourth year, they said, oh, no more surprise. But then the next year, the first underwater camera, and then the following year, the first drone. So we needed to reinvent ourselves to be the sense of novelty of film, of cinema. So it's a beautiful organization. I want to thank all the organization, Domitila, my daughter and partner, and Pablo, my friend, supporter of Flamengo, the very dear friend, the whole Marechea team, and the organizers of this session. Something that is interesting regarding the festival is that we can always add more people, and then we also can promote the Marechea Festival in other places like Paquetá. So thank you so much to you all. And so the festival takes place in the eastern, in Paraty, Ponta Negra, and 2 weeks after in the island of Paquetá, Rio de Janeiro. So I hope that next time we can go back to Ponta Negra and lay down in the sand and enjoy the festival. So now I'm going to give a brief summarize. We have had these 2 very important projects conducted by teams of Brazilians, students, researchers, professors, colleagues, friends, youth, children, adults, gathering this knowledge, these cultures, and mainly affections. As Alexis said, I think that affection is our resistance. We will resist. So both the works that had been portrayed in Rio de Janeiro and Paquetá with youth and children, and highlighting mainly what Domitila and Alex mentioned in their speech, the conflicts and the challenges that have been portrayed. The affection is resistant to the conflicts and is also a response to the challenges. It is interesting to see the Caiçara community isolated in a much deep way integrated to the natural context, as well as the residents, the dwellers in the city of Rio de Janeiro. Urban area and a Caiçara community, 2 very different environments in which we find similar ways of facing the challenges, mainly the tradition. These 2 traditional communities and these 2 works help us dissolve the frontier between nature and culture. This frontier, this border is what we've been trying to tell UNESCO that they don't exist. The boundary between nature and culture does not exist. And in these traditional communities is a way for us to understand better this merger. The drawings of the children also told us this story in their effective representation of the pathway from school to home in Rio de Janeiro. And then in the Maré Cheia, this orality, the traditions that are conveyed. So the daily heritage in Rio de Janeiro and the oral heritage in the Caiçara community. So this session, we've seen these two projects very well integrated. We don't stop here, this meeting. We continue this effort of integrating nature and heritage. So now I'd like to know if you want to, Alex, maybe say something to conclude the session. Yes, I'd like to say that how two projects that apparently seem so different, they complement one another. Domitila played saying that we are twins because we speak two things in different ways. And I met her team, Pablo, Ronald, a great hug to you. I hope that we can meet maybe in the Paquetá Festival. What a beautiful project. I was very moved watching you. And we see that how we can complement one another. We are speaking of the same thing. And taking the theme of UNESCO, of these new approaches to heritage, there is truly much more affection, symbolism between the ocean and the mountains than can aim our philosophy or the criteria of UNESCO. Children have been teaching us a lot. Children in vulnerable areas, children being invisible children already with gray hair. And I want to thank the opportunity to be in this project together with these children and together also with the Maré Cheia project here today in this session. Thank you, Alex. Flora, Brendo, do you want to give your final words or whatever, if you want to speak? Alex had represented me. Thank you. Brendo, would you like to say your final words? I want to thank the whole team of the event for the space, for the discussion, I want to thank Vera for the cooperation, the encouragement, for the project. Thank you, Brendo. I'd like to comment that there are so many praises to the project. There are no questions, just comments praising the project. You can read this afterwards. I'd like to know if you're going to continue. But Alex said that the project is just starting, and I'd like that Flora and her team, as well as Domitila and her team, also bring in another round of the project next time. Now I would like to know if Domitila or Ronald want to give the final words. So thank you again. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? I'm very grateful. It was I really enjoyed participating and watch this project that we connect. We are always thinking of the children, and we should never lose the ability of playing. Whenever we play, we will be together and we'll be move forward. So I'm very proud of the Maré Cheia project, and also proud of taking in a life with lightness. Thank you, all of you, and see you soon.
Muito obrigada, Ronald. Pablo e
Domitila, para ela poder fechar. Eu agradeço muito o convite. O projeto de vocês é muito
I want to
incrível.
thank the invitation. Your project is incredible. The children always bring in this extra power to the project, a more raw vision to the situations, and in many times a more absolute view. And I really hope from the word that we can listen more to these children, and that that the state be accountable for the environment and not the communities themselves. The changes, I hope to see changes in consumption so that our world is better without putting the responsibility on each one of the communities. So I hope we can have a better world based on their view. Thank you very much for your project and for the dialogues. I also want to extend the acknowledgements to Monica, Monica who had invited us, and also Adriana who had interpreted us. Thank you, Adriana, very much. And she was also watching the project because she commented. And Landy, thank you to you, our technical guy who allows us to be together virtually. Thank you, Alex. I was going to do this acknowledgement, so that I reinforced it. I was also here watching, but since we are twins, we complement one another. So once again, I want to thank everyone and the invitation. It was a great experience for me because we have never had given a presentation of the collective Marechal de Cinema. It's the first time since 10 years we have the project written for bids that we participate. So public notices. So it was the first time that I was able to do that. So next time I'm going to bring a handkerchief to the next classes. Thank you, Ronald. Do you want to say farewell? Thank you. Now I'm going to go dive on the ocean. So as a final message, a comment by our partners, Julieta Nunes. She says, wonderful presentations, they complement one another, and here renovate the hope in a more solidarity future and in a better world. So once again, I want to thank Monica to give this opportunity, this opening, and to believe in the Brazilian project that had been shown yesterday with Nau Cultural, the cultural ship, also and today this wonderful project. And I want to thank this opening of Monica and also Landy and Adriana that are with us in the technical side, allowing us this presentation. Just reminding you that it's been recorded and you can access it on YouTube as well as in the new Heritage Approaches website. So I'd like to know if you can make available these videos in the very website of the new approaches. Monica, would you like to explain us if this is possible? Vera, thank you very much. I also want to thank very much the participation of everyone. These wonderful projects, they show us the difference of discourse and the praxis. This project shows us this, and I believe this is key. It's a message that we give to the rest of the world. So congratulations to all of you. Regarding the availability of these videos in the website of the meeting, yes, sure, we are already doing the uploads. Domitila, whenever you can, please, you can send us the videos and we will upload. I believe that this is very important, that other people have access to them from other regions in the world. Thank you so much. And once again, congratulations. So let's move forward. This is a big lesson for all of us. Thank you for today's lesson. See you soon.